What's up YouTube, and welcome back to another Awesomoto vlog. In today's video we are finally installing our Badland Apex 12,000 pound winch on our GX470. Like always, before we get into today's video, it is time to do our Awesomoto t-shirt giveaway. I'm wearing one of about 5 different Awesomoto t-shirt designs that you can pick up yourself at awesomoto.tv/shop. And our new product, the Awesomoto Jet Tag keychain. So these keychains are an embroidered black with yellow embroidering jet tag, flight tag keychains. They actually match the shirt that I'm wearing, so super excited about putting these on all of my different key sets. So if you want to pick up some Awesomoto merch and help support the channel so I can create more videos like this, head over to awesomoto.tv/shop. Alright, so let's see who the monthly t-shirt winner is. Congratulations and thank you for being an Awesomoto subscriber. I appreciate your support for the channel and I'll be reaching out to get you that t-shirt delivered. Alright, so let's just get into today's video. We've got our famous Harbor Freight Badlands Apex 12,000 winch. This winch is highly rated. It is said to be a worn killer and that it is capable of doing everything the expensive winches are capable of doing at a fraction of the cost. So you may be thinking to yourself, wow, finally he's got a winch. It's taken him forever to do that. And I originally was thinking about the same thing, and you know, what better place to put a winch than this Goliath Offroad bumper, which has the cutouts for a winch. So I kind of just bit the bullet, bought the winch. It's been sitting around the garage for a couple months actually, and I'm finally installing it. But as I've been off-roading a lot here in Florida, I've realized I don't really know if a winch is necessary. Tow straps and a buddy to pull you out does quite a bit, and I think that's probably all you would need when you're off-roading. A winch may be helpful if you're by yourself, but the problem with Florida trails compared to most trails in the country, there's not a lot of trees around, and the ones that are around tend to be palm trees, and they are not a deep-rooted type of tree. They actually have very short roots, and so I think winching yourself out of an area by winching off of a palm tree isn't going to work so well. I think you'll probably just rip the palm tree out of the ground. Regardless, I'm going to install the winch on the GX. I already bit the bullet and bought it, but I will give you an honest review of whether I think it's actually necessary. Especially those that are watching from Florida, you may be able to get away with just some traction boards and some tow straps with some friends that are there with their vehicles to pull you out. But let's just get this thing open and see what's inside. All right. So the winch itself here is packaged up really nice. We've got our tow hook here. This is a massive metal one. I see a lot of people ditch these because they're metal, and if something snags and then breaks loose, this thing can be a projectile that can either smash your windshield or hurt somebody. So a lot of people go with some rubberized tow hooks, or they go with just a rope style configuration for that. So I think for now I'm going to use this and install it, but in the future I'm going to be upgrading to something a little bit more safe. Got a nice little Badlands strap that goes along with it. Next we got our wireless remote. This is a magnetic. You got a little magnet on the back, and it is wireless, or alternatively you have an option for wiring this up. So this is really cool to have a wireless winch. At the price point of this, I think it's around $600. And here's that cable that goes with your remote. This can plug in alternatively if you don't want to do wireless. Another thing we got is we have our front winch plate that comes with it. All right, so really all that's left in here is a plate for mounting. We've got our large gauge cable for wiring everything up. And we have our winch, so I'm just going to pull this out of the box. Really just a simple configuration. We've got our positive wire here, which is already hooked up going into the top of the control box on the winch here. The next thing after that is we got some hardware to assemble things. We got some sort of a terminal box here that's plastic. We'll have to see what that is about. We've got our ground cable, which we're going to have to hook up to the back here. And then lastly, we have our main on-off switch for the winch. For most of those at home, you may have some sort of a front winch tray. Depends on how your GX is configured or whatever vehicle you're installing this on. But I personally have this armored front bumper, which I have to fully take off to get this winch mounted up inside. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that off and we'll get started with the install. All right, so here's our first problem, is that this does not fit in here height-wise. So I was actually looking at some of these plates here. All right, so originally there were some brackets in here and also some hardware and this little terminal control box thing that I was looking at. Wasn't quite sure what all this was at first. I looked into it and it was for mounting the control box that's on the top to a different location if you don't have the clearance. And unfortunately, we do not have the clearance with this bumper, so we're gonna have to relocate this control box somewhere in here, and we'll have to look for mounting solutions for that. All right, so I'm gonna take off this top control box, which is being held on by some Torx bolts. Once you get this terminal cover off, then underneath here is some plates that kind of act as jumpers. And you'll want to undo these bolts that are 13 millimeter. So these act just kind of like a jumper across these terminals. So just going to pull these off because we won't be needing these right now. And once you have that off, then this top control box just kind of completely comes off and we can begin the next step. All right, so now that we have the control box off, this little box here goes on top of your terminals. Then from here, there are these terminal extension pieces. So those pretty much just go right on top of your terminal and they'll extend it up into this control box. All right, and next then you have 3 longer pieces of cable, and you just kind of put them down into place here and use the nuts from the original piece that you took off from your main control box top, and these get used to tighten this down. All right, from there, before anything, there are these color-coded rubber pieces that you want to make sure that you do this before you put the lid on, so that you know what cables are what color. So this furthest one is my yellow, middle one is red, and this furthest one is a black connector. So just slide all those on. Notice I am following the Harbor Freight installation manual. This manual is actually really good. It's very detailed and has everything you need to know. So if you get stuck on anything, highly recommend using this manual. It's got a lot of good data in it. All right, from here, I'm just gonna lift this thing up into the bumper and lay it into place. All right, so there are bolts that come with this for mounting. All right, so before we go too far and mount this up, we want to connect our ground here. There is this extra cable that comes with the kit, and this is for if you're relocating your control box somewhere, and it's an extended ground. So you're going to want that, and you're going to want this larger ground cable here. I put a little bend on it so that we can get it to fit down in there properly. So just kind of put that on like so. All right, so unfortunately, I have some major issues here because the Goliath winch control box mounting place is supposed to be here along the side, and I know they designed this to put a Smitty built winch, so the Badlands one does not fit. And this sucks really bad because now I gotta go find another way to mount this, and there is no other space on this Goliath bumper for it because it was designed very specifically for the Smitty built winch. I thought it was going to be pretty universal, but unfortunately it's not, and I already have this winch and I don't feel like going out and spending money on another one just because to get it tucked in this bumper. I may go that route, but let's see if we can find a better place in the engine compartment. I think I'm going to have to try to find either somewhere in here or maybe relocation plate of some sort in here. I'm limited on space, and this control box is quite bulky, so I'm wondering if I can cut some of these tabs around the edges. All right, so I'm getting a little reckless here. I'm starting to take stuff apart. I'm thinking to myself, why is this so bulky? The Smittybilt winch is able to have a much smaller box, so I thought, hey, there's some screws up under here. Let's take it apart and see what's inside of here. So as I take it apart, I realize this thing is not environmentally sealed at all. Just to show you from the side, there is no seals for the electronics. I think this whole thing is just in general just overly bulky. They just kind of did not think through minimizing the size of this. So I think I can undo some of this and rewire this into the Goliath bumper and actually make things fit. So I'm going to tinker around a little bit here and I'll update you with what I come up with. Alright, so the garage is a total wreck. As you can see, I just have crap everywhere, but finally figured everything out. It took a couple of days of just piecing things together. I ordered this enclosure off of Amazon. It is nice. It is a watertight enclosure with a nice rubber seal that kind of goes into the place there. So you can see there's wires here. I actually had a little goof, plugged that up. Alright, so really I just kept the same electronics. I kept the switch here, and I also kept this port, which is going to plug into the controller for charging it if you're going to do it in wireless mode, but you can also operate it in wired mode, and that goes into our relay here. This just does the switching. So as you remember before, if you saw me taking things apart, I labeled black, red, yellow, but this was the old bottom of the enclosure and this is the old top of the enclosure. And as you can see, this just kind of mounted on here like so, and there was just no real waterproofing. So if you're submerged, all of these copper plates here could get shorted out. So actually this whole enclosure itself was not nearly as watertight as I thought it was going to be. So in general, this solution here, I've got some sealant in here. So this is just some nice weather sealant that will keep everything nice and sealed and in place. And this entire box itself is much smaller than this box. So just as a reference, I'll put this cover kind of back on so you can get a rough idea of how it fits. This Badlands, in comparison side by side, it's kind of ridiculous how much bigger it is. There's these big wings on here, which I probably could have cut off, but it is just bulkier in general. This box fits perfectly in this little section here, and if you go to put the Badlands box in, you can see it's just insane how much overhang you get. So it doesn't even fit in there well. It's pretty ridiculous. So this box is going to do us much better. Another thing I did, which you can probably already tell, and I'll put some clips of it here. I was cutting, actually it went this way. I cut this handle because not only was it too tall and I was worried it was going to hit up under the vehicle, I flattened the top off so that it would stay flush with this metal here. And then on top of that, I had an issue where this would spin and it wouldn't spin the whole way and it would hit on the bumper here. So I was going to trim the bumper, but I thought to myself, you know, this handle that Harbor Freight made here is just bulky. I get it, it's a winch and they were going for this bulky kind of look, but it really doesn't need to be this massive. This is still plenty big enough to get your hands on and spin, and I think there will be no issues with access on that, and it's a little bit more low profile. If I were Harbor Freight, I would just do maybe some smaller adjustments to their design. Harbor Freight, if you're listening and you want to contract me, I'd be more than willing to help you with a little bit more sophisticated box or enclosure than the one I put together here. This was hacked together with some stuff picked up from Lowe's and a box from Amazon. So I think this would work really well for a lot of the Toyota and just in general the off-road SUV community. The Jeep guys, they don't have any issues with vertical height clearance issues because a lot of these mount to the front bumper and they don't have anything that's kind of like a hidden armor bumper. But I do know that there are some Jeep bumpers that have hidden winch compartments in them, and I'm assuming those also are space limited. So in general, I think Apex or Badlands, I don't know what the company is, if it's just Harbor Freight owns it, but they could do a little bit better if they were to just make some of those changes. And I'm not saying this winch is bad by any means. I think the winch design itself, this lower portion here, is great, and I hear amazing things about its capability. So for anybody watching who has not been able to fit their Badland winch into their hidden winch mount bumper, try this out. It's a cheap alternative. You can mount everything into a $13 enclosure, add some sealant, and you're good to go. So I think what I want to do from here is we'll mount this box into this cubby hole here. Alright, so I had to take the winch out to get everything into place, but as you can see, the box fits in here nice, and we got a nice seal around our wires. So we got an awesome place to now have our control box for our winch, and I felt at this point it has been so far modified from the original Badlands Harbor Freight that it was justified to put an Awesomoto sticker on there, because this is now officially a custom Awesomoto control box. Alright, so here we are, have everything installed. Box fits in here nice, and the winch is sitting in there good. The only other thing I have going here is I just have the ground and positive 12-volt line going up here under the bumper. So I'm going to go ahead and get the bumper mounted up, and then from here we'll finish up with mounting this switch control. I originally was not going to use this switch because it's, I don't know, it's kind of clunky, but I would like to throw it on just in case I want to have control of shutting it off. It would be nice to know that it's not constantly being powered. Alright, so that was absolutely exhausting, but we got the winch in, the bumper mounted. If you can see in here, we have access to the switch and the charging port on here for the wired version of the controller. And then over here you can see we've got plenty of clearance now for our handle up there, and we can reach that and make the adjustment. So really all we have to do at this point is put on our front plate and our hook, and then we need to run these wires over here to the battery, and I'm going to put the switch up here. It's not the ideal spot. I'm already mounting way too much stuff on top of this fuse box, but I'm just going to 3M it up there for now until I figure out exactly what I want to do. It's just a super dirty engine bay right now, but it'd be nice to get some sort of a tray set up here, not only for this but also for the switch that we're going to mount. So I've already got this hooked up for one side. I went through and just took a Dremel to this, so that was kind of a clean fit, and we'll fit this plastic piece on here flush. So really just gotta go to the positive terminal for that, mount the switch on top of the box. Alright, so here we have it. Got the switch wired up here, going out the back, positive side on the winch, got the negative terminal here, and at this point all we gotta do is put our winch plate on here, and we can test it out. So let's get that winch plate on and we'll see how it works. Alright, and once you have your pin bent like so, then you're good to go. Man, this is just so freaking bulky and insane. It seems kind of like overkill, but that's what it's supplied with, so we'll use it. Alright, so since the remote is new and it is not charged yet, we're going to want to hook this up wired. I've got the winch disengaged, so I'm just gonna pull out on it. That here, and well, I'm a little bit afraid to do this, but we'll flip the switch and see what happens. Alright, so far so good. No sparks. We've got a blue light here on the controller, so looks like it is getting power and it's charging. So we have an in and out here on the winch, but first we need to go ahead up inside of here, and I'm gonna spin this so that it's engaged. Hey, it works. That's awesome. So we've got full control, and the nice thing is this winch remote is magnetic. Alright, so in general, we have ourselves a working winch, and I think I'm just gonna hook this on here like so and maybe reel it in just a little bit, but have that hanging like so. And here in the future, I think we'll get one of those nicer nub style hooks that'll just kind of reel in and sit nice and flush here, like on the front end of the bumper here. Overall, this is awesome. This is totally custom box so that things fit. It looks awesome here in this Goliath bumper, and couldn't be happier about that. We got everything to fit due to some nice custom reconfiguring of the packaging, and everything looks pretty tidy. So since this winch took so long to install, I'm actually going to do a two-part series for this video. So in a later vlog, I'm going to go through a full review of how I feel about the winch, how it works, how to operate it, and all the things that I think whether or not you should actually buy one yourself. As of right now, I don't think I can recommend whether to buy one or not. If you got the extra money burning a hole in your pocket, I'd say go for it. I think there's a lot that can be done with some tow straps and some friends. And also, traction boards are going to give you a lot of value out on the trail for a fraction of the cost of a winch. This is going to be a learning curve for me. I've never used a winch before, so we're going to go out on the trail, we're going to see how it performs, and also any tips that I learn about how to winch safely, I will teach you everything that I learned from all of my research. So that about does it for today's video. I'm so excited for that future video, so keep an eye out for that. Additionally, may have something under that sheet right there that is a surprise for the channel. Between the extended time on the winch and that project over there, it took me a lot longer to produce this video. So in the next few videos, I plan to increase the frequency so I can get you more videos at a quicker rate. If you liked today's video, hit that thumbs up button down below to let me know that you like this GX470 content. If you're not an Awesomoto subscriber, hit that subscribe button down below. It helps support the channel and it gets you entered into our monthly t-shirt giveaways. In addition to monthly t-shirt giveaways, if you're interested in picking up yourself some Awesomoto merchandise to help support the channel, head on over to awesomoto.tv and pick up yourself some merchandise and support the cause. Alright, well, I'm going to end things here. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.